Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Welcome back today to another live stream. It is the player ratings. Everton 1, Crystal Palace 1 last night at Goodison Park. Now usually we do the player ratings straight after the instant match reaction on the night of the game, but it's now taking me nearly an hour to get home after the game. So by the time I'd got home yesterday and done the instant match reaction, it was near enough midnight and I was in work at 8 o'clock this morning. So I thought, you know what, we'll just do them tomorrow instead. It does mean that the live game review will now be tomorrow on Tuesday evening, so apologies about that one, but it means that we can have a bit more of an in-depth conversation about the game yesterday and everybody's performances without me being absolutely shattered and desperate to go to bed. So yeah, listen, as I said in the instant match reaction last night, and I still stick to my point that that result wasn't good enough yesterday and the performance wasn't good enough. And I know we can sit here all we like and talk about opportunities that we had and talk about a couple of chances that Dominic Calvert-Lewin had that he might have done better with or should have done better with. And, you know, there's various different fingers we can point at various different people as to why we didn't win the game yesterday. But the reality of the situation is, for me, the manager's setup and approach to this game wasn't what it should have been. I feel like it was too reserved, and I feel like it was too scared almost. There was no bravery. There was no intention to go and win the game. There was no intention to go and stand up against the side that are one of the most out-of-form teams in the league at the moment and go and beat them at Goodison Park. Now, yes, okay, we are also one of the most out-of-form teams in the league. I understand and I appreciate that, but we come up yesterday against a side with no manager and with 4 of their best players out injured and unavailable, and a side that are literally we're within 24 hours of starting under a new manager, meaning that they probably all looked at today as a fresh start and an opportunity to build something new, and therefore seen yesterday as almost the end of of an era. And yet we still couldn't turn up and beat that side at Goodison. And that is my biggest worry going forward. It's all well and good talking about how well Sean Dyche has done. It's all well and good talking about how brilliant of a job he's done. And I've seen a few people on Twitter today who just seem like it's the worst thing in the world, or they feel like it's the worst thing in the world to criticise the manager, and that he simply can do no wrong and is completely faultless. And we all know that just isn't the case whatsoever. Listen, we can all sit here and agree that Sean Dyche has had an extremely difficult task this season. He's had a job that, you know, no manager should ever have to deal with. Everything that has gone on off the field has been incredibly harmful to, you know, the events on the pitch, the injuries in and around the squad as well. He's had an incredibly difficult task to deal with this season, and I don't envy him whatsoever. And I'm not by any sense of the imagination sitting here saying he should be sacked or he's not good enough or we need to get rid of him, etc. However, 3 Premier League wins at Goodison Park all season is an absolute disgrace, to say that we're in February. The next time we play at Goodison Park, we'll actually be in March, and Everton have only won 3 times since August at home. It's simply not good enough. And yes, I appreciate there's circumstances, and yes, I appreciate we've played a number of difficult sides at Goodison so far, and we've got a lot of winnable games coming up, but yesterday was one of those winnable games. Yesterday was one of those opportunities that we could have turned up and gone, do you know what? Okay, we haven't won a Premier League game for a number of months, but we've played Manchester City twice, we've played Spurs twice, we've had a few difficult games at Goodison, we've got a game tonight against a side that we should be beating, that we believe we're better than. Let's go out and win it. But we didn't do that. And that leaves me looking at our remaining fixtures and thinking, well, what's to say that we won't go and drop points against Brentford at Goodison? What's to say we won't drop points against Forest, against West Ham, against Burnley, against Sheffield United? For me, Everton have got 6 home games left between now and the end of the season. One of them being the Merseyside derby, which we'll park for a second because, you know, we haven't got the greatest record in Merseyside derbies in recent years, and Bay Liverpool are a very, very good side and a very strong side. Other than that Merseyside derby, I think Everton should be winning all 5 of those games at Goodison. And I don't think it's too big of a task to expect us to go and win all 5 of those games at Goodison Park, because we're playing teams that are in and around our area. And regardless of the points deduction or any points we may or may not get back, the reality of the situation is we still have to win games of football. 30 points, which is what we would be on if we were to receive all 10 points back. And I don't think we will receive all 10 points back, by the way. Even if we do get some back, I don't think it will be all 10. 30 points still probably won't be enough to keep you in the Premier League this season. In fact, I don't think it will be enough to keep you in the Premier League this season. So therefore, we need to start winning games of football. I appreciate the manager has got his system. I appreciate the manager has got his way of playing and his tactic and his plan. But that plan doesn't work all the time. It works very well away from home in games against sides that we're not going to have a lot of the ball in. For example, when we played Manchester City, they didn't have a shot at goal in the first 45 minutes. Their first shot at goal come in the 60th minute or whatever it was, and it was their first goal. It works when you play away from home against sides that want to control the ball, and we are the team that are sort of on the defensive and haven't got all of the possession. But when we're the team with the onus on us, and when we're the team with the responsibility to go and win a game, we just don't know how to do that. And I've seen a couple of people, it's almost trying to rewrite history about last night, saying, oh, nothing to do with Dyche. We had X amount of shots at goal. We had this, we had that with the other. Anybody that was at that game last night or watched it live on the television knows that, I think statistically, let's have a look. Everton had 19 shots yesterday at goal statistically. But if you hadn't watched that game, you'd maybe look at it and go, oh, Everton should have done a little bit better. Everton had loads of opportunities there. We didn't. A lot of them shots were fired over the bar or were comfortably dealt with, or we didn't really trouble their goalkeeper at all. In fact, from what I can remember, obviously we had the goal and we had a couple of opportunities just before the goal from crosses into the box. But other than that, and maybe James Garner's strike, which was hit straight at the keeper, we didn't trouble the keeper whatsoever. And we need to be doing more. And my point is that whilst Dyche, as I said, is improved our away form tenfold, and we're much, much better away from home now than what we were, we aren't good enough at home, and the system and style he wants to play doesn't suit us at home. So he needs to come up with a plan B. He needs to come up with another way of playing. Firstly, he needs to drill into these players that it's okay for them to pick the ball up and run with it. Our biggest sort of moment last night was when Ben Godfrey picked the ball up and drove for 40, 50 yards with it. Ben Godfrey, the only player who was willing to get the ball and run with it at his feet. Now, I'll give him his due, and I have criticised him an awful lot of late, but I will give him his due. Jack Harrison come on along with Amadou Onana, and they both changed the game for the better. Now, you all know my feelings on Jack Harrison and other Blues in the comments, and I'm sure he's been eagerly awaiting me to discuss Jack Harrison after last night. You all know my views. I don't think he's a very good footballer. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think he's a very good winger. I don't think he's got particular amount of quality. I think he's got quality there, but he A, doesn't find it consistently enough, and B, I don't think he's got a good enough footballing IQ. But what he has got is a relentless ambition to run at defenders with the ball and actually move. Now, this is, I'm not going to give you all the credit in the world, the Blues, because he's coming up against Ashley Young, who is terrified to even move. But he showed when he come on that he was a much, much better option than Ashley Young. And I have no problem with somebody like Jack Harrison being taken out the team because, like I said, for me, I don't think he's been good enough this season. However, you take him out the team for somebody that you think can do a better job than him. Now, I'm not saying Lewis Dobbin is a better winger than Jack Harrison. I'm not saying Yusuf Chamiti is a better winger than Jack Harrison. But what I'm saying is they are young, hungry players with pace and with a fearless attitude to run at people. Ashley Young is the complete opposite. He is a 38-year-old who's terrified of making a mistake. And like I said yesterday, He plays, and this might be a little bit disrespectful, but I'm just saying it how it is. He plays like a teenager for me, Ashley Young. For somebody who's got 20 years of experience in the Premier League, he plays like a 16-year-old. He picks the ball up and he just moves with it. It's like he's got no footballing IQ to keep a hold of it, or to, shield it and win a foul, or play the pass off, or play it backwards. It just seems like every time he gets the ball, he's like, I don't know what to do here, so I'm just going to go that way. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And yeah, look, we said it all in the instant match reaction. For me, I put a lot of that performance last night on the manager. I do, because, we can sit here all we like and talk about how poor Everton's squad is at the moment, and how low on confidence Everton's team is, and how much they're struggling. And I get all of that, but I just don't think the manager's system and setup is helping that. And I'd be lying if I was to say I think Sean Dyche is getting everything out of these players. And that is the question I always find myself asking myself whenever I come on the channel and criticise a manager, be it Benitez, be it Lampard, be it Dyche, be it Ancelotti, be it Silva, whoever it has been over the years of me coming on here and talking about Everton. I always think, is the manager getting the most out of this set of players? Regardless of how good the set of players is, or how bad the set of players is the manager getting the most out of them? And I don't think Sean Dyche is, because of his system and tactic. Now, I'm not saying he's not improved us in areas, because he has. He's improved us defensively massively. We are much, much stronger and much better defensively now than we've been for years. The clean sheets records will tell you that. He's improved us hugely with set pieces, and specifically scoring set pieces and defending them. But there is areas of the game that he has neglected, that we can't really afford to neglect, because set pieces won't work every week. We can't rely on that big lumped ball over the top to Dominic Calvert-Lewin every week, because it isn't going to come off every week. We need other options. We need other ways of winning a game, and we don't have that at the moment. We don't have that. Well, he would have us comfortably safe, but he hasn't. And I agree. Like I've just said, I'm not saying he should be sacked, get rid of him, he's terrible. I agree, he's been dealt a really, really difficult hand, and an unfair hand. And who knows, we might be sitting here tomorrow with 10 points back, and we might be saying, boss, who cares about that draw with Palace? Happy days, let's go and look forward to the rest of the season. The reality is, we are where we are. And as I've said a couple of times before, for me, I'm not even thinking about Everton getting any points back, because I hold no hope that we will get any points back, because this is Everton. And when do we ever get any good positive news about our football club? And if we don't get any points back, then we need to win, for me, 5 of those 6 home games between now and the end of the season. And playing like that, we won't. Yeah, there you go. Well, Blue says that that's literally getting the best out of what we have. I disagree. I don't think he is getting the best out of what we've got. I don't think that system and style and tactical setup yesterday got the most out of that playing squad. I don't, but that's fair enough. We can agree to disagree. Anyway, this is the player ratings. The game review is tomorrow. We'll go into much more depth about this performance and this result in that game preview tomorrow. Let's get into the player ratings then, the show where we give every player a rating between 1 and 10. 1 obviously being absolutely horrific, 10 being absolutely fantastic. We'll start with Jordan Pickford in goal. I'm going to give Jordan a... what can I give him? What can I give Jordan? Just trying to remember their goal. Don't think he could have done much for their goal. Seemed like it was a decent effort by Ayew. I'm going to give him a 6.5. I don't think he was under an immense amount of pressure yesterday. Jordan Pickford. I seen somebody on Twitter earlier today saying we were absolutely dominated by Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace dominated us. That's just wrong. That's just absolutely wrong. Fair play to Crystal Palace. They turned up. They made themselves difficult to beat. They've come away with a point, and it's a huge, huge point for them. A huge point for them. Right at a transitional period in their season. But they didn't dominate us at all. Crystal Palace were as bad as Everton were. It was like watching 2 really, really dreadful footballing sides. playing football. And like I said, I don't think Palace put much pressure on Jordan, and I don't think Jordan had much to do. That being said, I thought his distribution was okay, better than it was in the previous week. And he had a couple of sort of comfortable saves that you would expect him to make, but not. He wasn't hugely involved, was he? So I'll give him a 6.5. Left back, Vitaly Mykolenko. I've got a problem with Everton's fullbacks, and I don't think it stems from the fullbacks themselves. Now, there's no way of us knowing this unless it gets leaked or unless somebody gets asked about it and answers. But Everton have got an issue at the moment in which our fullbacks are seemingly terrified to overlap their wingers and to give us another option going forward. Now, I don't know whether that is because the players themselves don't want to do it, don't want to take that risk, don't want to overlap, don't want to get into those forward positions through fear that they might not be able to get back, or whether it's an instruction from the manager is to say, don't get in those attacking areas, don't push forward, don't get beyond your winger. And that, for me, is not right. It isn't. The word of advice should be to do that, to get behind your winger, to give your winger another option when he cuts inside, especially when our wingers absolutely love cutting inside, both of them. Dwight McNeil loves cutting in. In fact, yesterday he was cutting inside on the halfway line, and whoever plays on the right-hand side, be it Young or Harrison, both like to cut inside. And yet neither fullback seems to want to overlap consistently. They do it 1 or 2 times in a game, okay, yeah, maybe, but it's not consistent enough. Having said that, I thought Miko himself was okay yesterday. I thought he put in a relatively decent performance. I don't think he done anything particularly wrong. Thought defensively he was okay. A couple of crosses into the box, nothing come of, but a couple of crosses into the box nevertheless. And yeah, I thought he was okay. So I'll give him a 7 yesterday. Mykolenko into the back line. Then James Tarkowski, going to give him a 7.5. Thought he was really, really solid. Rumours obviously in the week that he had picked up an injury. Really, really good to see that those rumours were absolute bollocks for once, because usually when you see those WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger type of rumours, the madder they are, usually the truer they are. So I was really, really pleased to see that they were not true and that he was available for the game. Yeah, I thought he was really solid. Thought he dealt with most of what he had to deal with. Like I said, it wasn't a great game. As bad as Everton were, and Everton were really bad, by the way, yesterday. I can't have it any other way, because we've snatched the point in the last 5 minutes. It was up there with one of the worst performances I've seen from Everton all season. We were absolutely horrific. But like I've just said, Palace were as well. Palace weren't much better at all. So, yeah, the centre-backs didn't have an awful lot to do. They didn't have an awful lot of work to do. They didn't have an awful lot of defending to do, but I thought they dealt with everything they needed to deal with well, and I thought they were quite solid. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7.5. I'm going to give Branthwaite a 7.5 as well. Thought he had a couple of moments where he looked a little bit like he was under pressure, but he dealt with them really, really well. He was calm, he was cool, he was collected. He didn't let it faze him, and he seems to have gotten over the mistake in the game against Manchester City fairly quickly. And yeah, as I said, although he wasn't put under much pressure yesterday and there wasn't an awful lot for him to do, he did what he needed to do well. Right back then, Ben Godfrey. I'm actually going to give Ben a 7 as well. I thought he put in a relatively solid performance. Now, yes, is he a right back? No. And therefore, when you combine him with a 38-year-old right back playing right midfield, you probably aren't going to get the best right-hand side. You probably aren't going to get the most attacking right-hand side and the most creative right-hand side whatsoever. But I thought individually yesterday, Ben done well. as I've just said, he had that one run where he ran through the middle of the pitch, and it was the only time an Everton player had picked the ball up and decided to run with it. And lo and behold, we won a corner out of it, and put Palace under pressure. But yeah, as I said, I thought individually he done well yesterday. Defensively, I thought he was okay, relatively solid. Look, at the end of the day, he's a centre back playing right back. And not only that, he's a centre back that 3 or 4 weeks ago, none of us thought he'd play for Everton again, playing right back. So, yeah, you have to take it in its context. But I thought he done well yesterday, Ben. I'll be honest. I thought he was okay. Into the midfield then, Adrissa Garner guy. I'm gonna give him a 7.5. I thought he was Everton's best player when he was taken off, and I don't think it's any. I don't think it's any. What's the word I'm looking for? Coincidence that we conceded pretty much seconds after he'd been taken off. Now, I'm not blaming Amadou Onana for the goal that we conceded, but I just don't think it should have been Garner Gay that was brought off. I think it should have been James Garner that was brought off. I don't think James Garner was particularly great yesterday, and I like James Garner. I think he's a really tidy player and a hard-working player who puts himself about in battles, but he just wasn't on it yesterday. He just wasn't on it, and again, that's perfectly fine to say without the whole of Twitter and social media thinking I hate him and never want him to play for Everton again. He wasn't very good yesterday, and whereas Garner Gay, I thought was really, really solid. Thought he was breaking the play up, he was moving the ball around, he was intercepting. I think Garner Gay has been excellent since returning from AFCON. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think he's put one bad performance in it. And again, yesterday, don't get me wrong, he wasn't absolutely magnificent, but we weren't absolutely magnificent, and it wasn't an absolutely magnificent game. But I thought he was our best player, and I was a little bit confused when he was brought off, and especially when you think 30 odd seconds later, we gifted them a goal. So yeah, I thought he was our best player at the time. Next to him in that midfield, then James Garner. Like I just said, I don't think it was his greatest game today. Yesterday. I'm gonna give him a 5. I thought he ran round and worked hard and did all of the usual you expect from him. Put himself about, chased the ball down, won it back a few times. I just don't think he was as involved or as influential as what he can be. I like James Garner. I do. I'm not sure he's as technically. I'm not sure he's as technically capable as some people think he is. He's a good player, and as I've just said, he's a grafter. He works hard. He puts himself about. He battles. He never stops running, and he's got technical ability. But I don't think he's got enough technical ability for us to rely on that technical ability, if that makes any sense. I just think he's a decent, hard-working player. But yeah, he wasn't brilliant yesterday. He wasn't brilliant, was he? Abdoulaye Doucouré, then, I'm going to give him a 6. Again, first game back, obviously after his injury. Don't really know what I expected from him, to be honest with you. Again, put himself about, worked hard, made it difficult at times, but had a couple of moments where he should have done better with opportunities. He had one chance in the first half where he put it wide and he had a fair bit of space to at least be able to get the shot on target, even though it was a difficult effort. And then he had that one in the second half, didn't he, where the ball come across and he got on the end of it and he just couldn't steer it towards goal. Again, not going to sit here and have a huge go at him. He's only just coming back from injury, and I'm sure that had an effect on him. But yeah, I don't think he was as involved as we would have liked him to have been yesterday. Onto the wide players then. Ashley Young, he's getting a 1 for me yesterday. He's getting a 1, and I know people will be unhappy with that, and people will think that's harsh and whatever. But I just can't see a world in where a 38-year-old fullback should be playing right midfield for Everton in the Premier League. And I get people might say, oh, well, Dobbin's not ready, or Chamiti's not a winger, or you've been moaning at Harrison, etc., etc., etc. I get it. I absolutely get it. But, if Ashley Young was offering us something, anything, by the way, and that's not me being harsh, it's me being true. So if you don't like it, then shut your ears, because it's the truth. If he was offering anything, then I'd say, okay, well, at least the manager must know that he can get experience from him, he can get a level head, he can get a good footballing IQ from him, so that's why he's in there. He runs round aimlessly like a headless chicken, as if he is a 17, 18-year-old kid. But he can't run as quick as a 17, 18-year-old kid, because he's a 38-year-old. I've got no problem with Ashley Young not being able to run up and down the line for 90 minutes. I've got no problem with Ashley Young not having the fitness or stamina to chase every ball in the 80th, 90th minute. Got no issue with it. He's a 38-year-old player who's coming towards the end of his career. No problem. My problem is when he's got the ball at his feet in the middle of the park under no pressure, and he dilly-dallies with it, doesn't pass it, can't make a move, and loses it, and then we're under pressure. If you're a 38-year-old and we are already making exceptions for the fact that you have got no pace and aren't going to be able to get up and down and aren't going to be able to do the attacking and the defensive work, at least have a fucking brain. And I'm sorry, but he just shouldn't be anywhere near a starting 11 for Everton Football Club. Lewis Dobbin should be in there every day of the week over Ashley Young, regardless of how inexperienced and untested untested Lewis Dobbin is. So yeah, he's getting a 1. McNeil on the other side is getting a 2. I don't think he was much better, but he got the assist for the goal, didn't he? Put the corner in for the goal. So and to be fair, he probably could have had another 2-3 assists if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was able to finish. But yeah, other than that, generally, I thought his game was was really, really poor. McNeil. He just seems like he's not himself at the moment. Now we all know he's got a lot going on in the background in his personal life, and that might be the reason why he isn't quite on it at the moment. That might be the reason why his performances aren't quite there. But whatever it is, whether it's that, whether it's not quite being fit, whether it's being injured, because he seemed at times yesterday like he was carrying an injury, I don't know what it is, but it's not good enough. It's just not good enough at the moment. And then Dom, I'm going to give Dom a 6. Listen, I understand and I appreciate he had a couple of chances he probably should have done better with. He certainly should have. Again, the Blues says McNeil with 5 key passes, only 1 player did more in the Premier League this week. It means nothing to me. All of them stats mean nothing to me. I watched them for 90 minutes yesterday and he didn't do enough. You can tell me he had 5 key passes and nobody else had, but you can tell me that the XG of his farts was 87 because he'd had beans before the game. I honestly, none of that makes any difference when he's got the ball with 50 yards of space in front of him and he turns backwards on the halfway line, when he's got a clear runner creating an opportunity for us. And again, I get it, he's not got much pace, he mightn't be fit, etc., but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Dom's getting a 6, as I said. I know he had a couple of opportunities that he should have done better with. He's not creative enough. He isn't, and you can't deny that, because nobody in that team is creative enough. Well, and then he's got no pace to beat him, and okay, well, why play Ashley Young on the other side of the pitch then? That means the manager's got that horrifically wrong. Listen, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I thought he was terrible yesterday. I thought everyone was terrible, and I thought the manager is very, very, very lucky that we managed to scrape a point out of it, because he'd be under huge pressure if not, regardless of any other situation. Yeah, Dom can have a 6. He worked hard, put himself about, should have done better with his other opportunities, but I feel sorry for him. I feel really, really sorry for him, because the ball gets lumped up and everybody just stands and looks at him and almost says, go on, you do everything on your own. And he can't do it. It's impossible for him to do it. And everybody's saying, he's shite, he's this, he's that, he's the other, he's absolutely terrible, he's the worst player we've ever had. I don't see them criticising every other Everton player that just stands and looks at him from 30 yards instead of gets up there and tries to help him. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Onto the bench then. Amadou is getting a 7.5. Come on, scored the goal and changed the game. Again, showed why he's technically our best player by some stretch. And to think I had people telling me that Andre Gomez was a better technical player is actually quite laughable. Jack Addison, give him a 6.5. Come on, direct, pacey, worked hard. Not great, but did more than Ashley Young. And then Beto can get a 6. Yeah, come on. Put himself about, made himself a nuisance, but didn't really do much else, did he? Anyway, there you go. We're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like. It only takes a second. We'll be back with the game review tomorrow, so don't forget to look out for that one. But until then, big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you after.